Collision course. It is essential for our survival to use these powerful tools in the most humane and wise way. And the only way to guarantee that is not to shuffle the responsibility off to somebody else, but to make sure that every citizen understands science and technology to some extent.
Lighten up, Francis.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or a computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it. I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We gotta stop them! They're gonna kill us all! See how the trouble you've started? Be they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart, that you can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
Right! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Good evening, everyone. It's Francis, your host of Collision Course, right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. It's 8 p.m. in New York City. Tonight, you're going to join me, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our solar neighborhood. Not just that, though, we're on a mission to uncover and discover the truth about our place in the universe. Come listen for the interviews. Come listen to me. Either way, we'll know more so we can decide what's real and what is not in the space outside our atmosphere. Good evening, everyone, to a March 22nd, 2020, 8:02 p.m. in New York City show here on freedomslips.com at Revolution Radio. If you're listening to me and you're not on freedomslips.com inside the chat room, I encourage you to join me and my friends in the chat room on freedomslips.com. Go over to freedomslips.com, Get a username. Join us in the chat room. You can ask questions. You can interact with the other listeners of the show. And at the same time, because freedomslips.com Revolution Radio is the world's #1 listener-supported radio station, you'll have an opportunity to help us support the station and its stance on free speech, a champion of free speech. And you want to support places like this because you want to come here anytime you want, hear a new host, new topic. Tonight with Collision Course, 8 to 10 p.m. every Sunday, you hear about outer space, and you'll hear from me, Francis Walsh, amateur astronomer. We have the observatory, public outreach, this show. We're doing outreach in Cameroon, and that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to roll right into it because I know that Roland is waiting for my call, and we have a lot to talk about. Hi, regular girl. But let me do that first. Let me just quickly say hello to those in the chat room. I'm going to scroll up a little bit and go, Narayan. Hello, Cat Dog Girl, Popsicle Toes, My Eye One, Cat Dog Girl, Narayan, Popsicle Toes, My Eye One, Pat Rabbit. Hey, Pat. Hop, hop, Cat Dog Girl. Everybody who's in the chat room, join me if you're not in here. Omega Logos, how are you? We're going to have a great show. Mr. Rowe, good to see you. You helped me solve a problem earlier today. Now I can be in the chat room with y'all on the computer that I wanted to be in the chat room with. I'm just scrolling down, and here we go. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry, but hello, good evening. I am paying attention to the chat room, so do join us in the chat room. I'm going to pop over to everyone in who uses Facebook. I encourage you to go to facebook.com/Collision Course 321, the free information page for the radio show. Lots of information and links over there. But I'm going to say hello to those folks over there. Jane, Pierre Goutard, hello, Carla, Mbonteh, who's going to join me in a minute. Midori, hello, Midori, good morning. Debbie Fitzhenry, I love you, Debbie. Mike, Kevin, Jack Neal, and we have a little bit of information with Jack Neal that I'll tell you about a little bit later. Robert, Bobster over at the observatory, hello, and Shannon Pavlovic, good evening. I hope you're listening. I hope you're going to join me in the chat room. Hey, we're going to zip over to Cameroon. That's right, Cameroon. We're going to pull in Mr. Mbonteh Roland. Mbonteh Roland. We have some ad. And we're going to always regular updates from Cameroon and Mbonteh Roland because we're helping him achieve some of his goals. And he's a teacher of students, and we support him as a teacher and his students. And Mbonteh Roland, are you here with us?
Hello, Mr. Francis. I'm here. Hello, everybody. Greetings from Cameroon.
Wonderful, wonderful. I was just telling everybody that you have your students, and we had some exciting news this week. And I had you on this evening, Mbonteh, and hello, and I love you, and I hope everything is well. But I'd like to get a report and an update about what's been going on. And tell me what's been going on if you can. I know, because I know you've been probably thinking about it, because I asked you that I would be asking you for a report and an update. So what do you think's been going on? What's been going on in Cameroon?
Yes, actually, before the lockdown, presently we have a lockdown, but before the lockdown, we all were in school with the students, and the students were doing excitedly great, and wishing you good health as you were hospitalized last time. And we have very exciting news this week. You know, we just received our telescopes from Belgium, and actually those are the first telescopes in Cameroon to implement astronomy in our educational system. And
yes.
I want to thank you so much for your great work you have done in helping us, in supporting us to have these telescopes from the customs.
Okay, so the update, I guess the way we could describe it was we've been doing a lot of work with Roland, and Roland has been doing a lot of work. Roland has been doing, he's been digging up wonderful opportunities and connecting with people who are involved extremely closely with outreach of astronomy on a global scale, and from a couple of different organizations, they have donated telescopes to him. Now, we have a telescope that's on his way to him as well. It still has some 6 weeks to get there. But what we are happy to announce was that the first delivery of 3 telescopes were able to get into Roland's hand. And because the hardest part about Cameroon, and I wish it was a lot easier, is getting a product from anywhere around the world to the people of Cameroon and having it not cost an arm and a leg, I guess we would say in America, because when these objects are donated and then they're graciously sent to Cameroon, they'll end up in customs. And this can happen anywhere across the globe, because I've seen it before and heard stories of how someone has donated something very supportive of an organization, and then it gets into customs, and then these objects become less valuable than what the customs wants you to pay for it. And in a place like Cameroon, it's kind of like that. So what happened? What happened that day, Roland, when you went to the customs? Tell me about that day, I guess. We can go.
Yes, actually, when I got to the customs, they asked me to bring my clearance agent. So I didn't know anything about the clearance agent. So they said, since I do not have a clearance agent, then I need to hire one of them to be my clearance agent. And to hire one of them to be my clearance agent was very, very expensive. And the shipping cost of the telescope too. Finally, they asked me to pay 124,500 francs. That's a lot of money they asked for those telescopes just for the shipping price.
Let me ask you, when you went to the customs that day, what did you think would happen?
Actually, everything I was thinking about is just going to have my telescopes. But I just had a transport with me. I never knew they're going to hold the telescope that manner. When I got there, I was actually surprised and stranded.
Well, I would guess so, because you would. And then, and I don't know how it happens. I don't know who. I think I contacted you first. I that day.
Yeah, you contacted me first, and I don't know. It was just a coincidence, or
it was out of nowhere almost.
I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah, because I hadn't messaged for a few days, and then I just felt like messaging you, and then you said I'm here. And, I've been wanting to get Roland telescopes as quickly as possible and as affordable as possible. And when he asked me, he told me how much it was, and I did the translation of the funds, I was thinking to myself, and I said, wow. I said, can I do that? And then after about 15 minutes, I said, wait a second, can I not do this? Can I not do this? Because what's the easiest way from now, even though somebody else donated we need to recognize them, because I don't think I've recognized them enough. Roland, who donated the telescopes to you, please?
Yes, it's Brazier Messiah, the Brazier company in Belgium.
Say that one more time.
Brazier company.
Brazier company?
Yes, Brazier is a telescope manufacturing company based in Belgium.
Tell me how you contacted them.
I have been contacting a lot of people these days, in fact, from a very long time now, to support us, especially for the space tourism. And I wrote a letter to them talking about space tourism and astronomy outreach. So they found these projects very, very interesting and said, space project, oh wow, so you have an aim of flying to space? Wonderful. We wish you good luck for that, and we wish we had money to support you. But since we cannot support you for space tourism, I think we can help you to promote astronomy in Cameroon. That's how they donated the 3 telescopes.
And that is wonderful for the Brazier Company to do that, for us, for you, for Cameroon. And as you said now that these are the first telescopes in Cameroon, potentially the first telescopes in Cameroon.
Actually, we are very excited, and it's a really a story that is going viral in Cameroon right now. We have first telescopes in Cameroon. You know, Cameroon is a place where we do not study astronomy, astrophysics, and any other related subjects in the domain. So we never had telescopes in Cameroon, and this happens to be the first telescopes in Cameroon. And every journalist contacting me like they want to write about it. In a few days' time, you're going to be seeing news about these telescopes right here.
Okay, I have to correct it. Thank you, Pat Rabbit. It's the Bresser Telescope Company. The Bresser Telescope Company. I was saying it wrong. So I want to recognize that company for their support, outreach, donation to Cameroon. And then it gets into Cameroon and it hits into the custom substation. And then the fun begins. The fun begins. How am I going to get the telescopes out of the substation? We sent over some money, but we were able to get a discount, right? Because I told you to bargain a little bit. So you got a little money back at least, right?
Yes, we got a discount. Don't know that much, but I think it was not bad.
Yeah, we have to remember probably the 25% of what they tell you to pay is just a fee, you know. So, yeah, so whenever we go to customs, we have to remember to try to just tell them I have so much money, and that's it. Now take it.
Actually, that's it.
It works. It works. It works. It works in the United States even too. When you're trying to make a deal, you go with a little bit less money. Well, you tell them you go with a little less money, and that's that. You either take it or you leave it. And then you can always go back later and get it if they make you pay what they want. And that's the way deal making goes. Okay, so the Bresser Company, Telescope Company, donated. We get into Cameroon. We had the first telescopes Cameroon. If you connect to us on Facebook, the Collision Course 321 or the Astronomy Club of Cameroon, there's a number of Facebook pages in there that show some of the most recent images of Roland and his direct elder sister, nephews, cousins all together. Wonderful. I love those pictures, Roland, that you sent us most recently. I wish I could share them in the chat room, but I haven't got them in the right location. But Roland, for everyone who's connected to us on Facebook, know those pictures, and they were beautiful pictures.
Well, thank you so much, Francis.
Well, I'm happy that we are definitely moving forward in the astronomical direction. And we're going to receive, okay, tell us about the SSV telescope that's coming.
Excuse me?
Tell us about the other telescope that's coming that was donated to you with all the signatures on it.
Yes, the telescope coming from SSVI. SSVI is star shine for everyone. The SSVI company is owned by Mr. Jean-Pierre Groutet. Mr. Jean-Pierre Groutet donated a telescope to Astronomy Club of Cameroon from Belgium as well. That will be coming in April ending. I just hope that the lockdown shouldn't disturb it.
Okay, let's just quickly talk about what kind of lockdown do you have? What's going on? Just be quick. Just give me a short version.
Well, I think for the global epidemic, the coronavirus, that's the reason why.
Okay, that's a short version, and that's really unfortunately what the globe is going through. But I want to remember we're going to talk about connections later on. But I'm not going to talk about the virus. Well, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Whatever we're going to talk about. We're all on lockdown. Roland, you're not there. You're. So that'd be 238, about 300,000 miles or so. Okay, so I have 3 or 5 in the call. That's fine. So we still have Roland with me. Roland, you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Francis.
Good. if I have a question for you, I'll just ask, or if you have a question to me, feel free to ask, okay? And I'm going to pop back into the chat room, and then everybody's doing good. So very interesting today. Basically, I'm calling it a swarm. The swarm for today of these 4 objects, one of them coming only 80,000 miles or so from the center of the Earth, is very close pass-bys, close flybys. At this point, with the number of objects that are being discovered, for me, unless it's a really big object, and it's still for me, how close it comes to Earth is really important to how much interest I have in it. If something says it's 4 lunar distances away and up, I really lose interest pretty quickly, because those measurements are pretty secure and can be assumed that they're pretty confident, because astronomers take images and look at these objects in different ways. If they're newly discovered, like these objects are newly discovered, they'll be researching back observations, or they'll be asking for new observations. They'll be correcting their orbits, and for orbits that are in the 1 million miles and up away, don't interest me as much as these close ones in here. 750,000, 750,000, 80,000, 300,000 miles away. So a very busy, active day for Earth. We've been paying attention to these objects constantly for over a year. We're seeing waves of different scenarios, where over a period of months we would see the top 10 list of the objects flying by according to date was just flooded with new discoveries. How many new discoveries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this one has 8 out of 10 new discoveries discovered within the last couple of weeks. So I have a list of objects, known objects, that was created and has information prior to this newest object here flying in within 1 lunar distance. But I have a picture there of all the other upcoming objects that are known to be flying within 1 lunar distance of the moon, of Earth, of the object. Okay. Important. Well, this may be the comet I've been waiting for, but I am unfortunately walking a fine line with looking forward to Comet 2019 Y4 Atlas. I should be happy. As an astronomer, I should be happy, because the forecast for object C 2019 Y4 Atlas is looking up. When you talk about a comet and the forecast looking up, you can kind of expect there's going to be some display put forward by this comet. Now, I left a link there. Those were the objects. What else did I leave? I left the same link twice. I'm sorry. Did I do that? I got some shrunken windows. Yes, I did. Delete one. Or forget one. I'm sorry. I'll see if I can get this. This is a link to skylive.com comments. No, it did the same thing. It wants to drop the same link. Let's try that. Oh, man. All sorts of stuff happened. Go back. Ooh. Well, that took me right out of Freedom Steps. Sorry about that. I got to enter the chat room again. Hopefully I'll get back in. Let's see if I can get this link again to Sky Live. That's C. That's blogging in here. Then enter that in there. There it is. This is information, direct information about the comet that I'm going to be talking about at 8:46 p.m. in New York City. Comet C 2019 Y4. It was the last comet discovered at the end of the year in 2019. Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas. Here's its current coordinates. Its right ascension is 9 hours, 1 minute, 32 seconds. Hi, Jim. Declination, plus 67, 54, 25. Its observed magnitude for Cobbs is 8.4. Estimated magnitude, or its estimated brightness, currently is at 14.6 from JPL. 14.6 makes it a pretty easy object to get to with a small to medium-sized telescope, but as we get closer to May, it's going to get brighter. Could become a top 5 comet of all time, the way that it's prepared itself currently, how it's representing itself currently. Right now, it's in Ursa Major. Let me scroll down. There's soon. Oh, these are all. Well, that didn't actually. Let me go. Actually, see. Can I click on it? I can click on it, and we'll get some more information about Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas. Here is another page, because that was a page of all comets. Oh, did it again. It's doubling up on my. For some reason, I can't grab the link. There. And that's the info for the comet directly, Comet Atlas. They give you a map showing Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas in Ursa Major on March 23rd, 2020. Field of view is 60 by 30 degrees. Higher precision deep sky finder chart showing where Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas is right now. We have images taken of the deep sky finder chart for Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas. This page gives you the distance of Comet Atlas from Earth is currently 358,569 kilometers, equivalent to 1.078615 astronomical units. Light takes 8 minutes and 58.2343 seconds to travel from Comet Atlas to arrive to us. There's a chart in there, a light travel time. It shows you as right now, where we are, the comet getting closer to us, and then how it moves away from us. Comet Atlas has a orbital period of 6,025 years. That is an enormous amount of time for it to be arriving currently. Closest approach of Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas to Earth between January 2013 and December 2100. The closest approach of Comet C 2019 Y4 Atlas to Earth happens on Saturday, May 23rd, 2020, at a distance of 0.78113215 astronomical units, or 116,855,706 kilometers. Estimated magnitude currently 14.58. Observed magnitude Cobb is 8.4. Coma diameter 10.8. The observed magnitude and coma diameter values are derived from the Comet Observers Database by averaging the values reported in recent observations, more recent than 4 days, when available. The estimated magnitude comes from the JPL Horizons Ephemeride Service and might be inaccurate given the highly dynamic and unpredictable behavior of comets. When available, please refer to observed magnitude value. The following chart is the predicted light curve, visible magnitude as a function of time. So they have it currently, we're coming into this time in May. That is up in there, and it's pretty bright, like in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 magnitude, which is naked eye bright. And that's what we're forecasting. And this is a comet where the sun is playing a part, just like any comet. long-period comets, the sun plays a part. You take an object from deep space, cold, and as you move it in toward the sun, it's going to ignite this comet, burning off whatever it can burn off. And if it can make it around the sun, we're really going to have a show. We're really going to have a show. And that'd be a great thing if we just kind of, I guess, weren't going through our current situation. And on the other side of the hour break, or the break at the top of the hour, we're going to talk a little bit about why the appearance of this comet, well, at least historically for astronomers, ancient ones, way back, well, they wrote about comets in a negative way. And we're just going to just have to look at it for a little bit and talk about it for a little bit because it's happening currently in real time, live. So we have to dive into the information and talk about it. And we're going to talk about it tonight on Collision Course. We still have Roland on the phone. Roland, stay on the phone. We're going to go to the commercial so you can still remain quiet. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the comet, and then I'll tell you about it and where you can begin to look at it, and I'll share links, and we'll figure out a way how we can get everybody on the same page, knowing where this comet is coming from. We can find out where it came from, and we can decide for ourselves. And this is the whole point of the show. We can decide for ourselves what is real and what is not. In the space outside our atmosphere, we'll decide for ourselves, is it apparent? Is it a connection? Is it omen? As astronomers, how do we look at these events when we put them together? We'll probably talk a little bit about Dr. Chandra Wickramasinghe and panspermia, because we have, with all these close approach objects, a comet which could potentially be a top 5 of all time comet appear in the sky from now until May, when we are going through the hardest times emotionally, maybe spiritually, maybe in our hearts. We don't know. I don't know. So if this Comet Atlas appears as reported, and these are reports from knowledgeable people, how will people around the globe look at it? How should astronomers look at it? How would you look at it? So what if something magnificent shows up in the sky, yet we're gripped in the situation? What will be written? Will there be connections made? At the other side of the break, I have some information, something to read, something about deep impact science, comets in ancient cultures. Talk about that. I'll leave a link. I'm going to leave the link to that article that I'm going to read through on the other side of the break. Let's see if I can get that in there. Just want to do something. Hey, can I get the link in? So for everyone who's listening, again, I logged myself out of the chat room, entered the room. Sorry. For everyone who's listening this evening to Collision Course, I thank you so much for listening to this first hour of the show. We're going to be coming to the second half of the show in just a little bit. Right now it is at 8:56 p.m. in New York City, 7:56 p.m. where I am here outside of Houston. I hope where you are safe and sound. I hope where you are of good mind and heart, and everything is working as it should, or at least as well as it could. If you're under the weather, or if you're not doing as well, I hope the show is helping you enjoy your evening. And hopefully it's a bright spot on the day, because we're not going to spend too much time talking about the current situation, except how this Comet's going to show up right in the middle of our event, and we'll see what other folks thought about comets in the past. And we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday at 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
To act as a sort of executive officer for the week.
Yes.
But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting.
Yes, I see.
By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs.
Be quiet.
But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more...
Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left.
Yes, I have.
Look!
just a flesh wound. I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity.
I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Francis and Collision Course on Comet Radio. You can come to freedomslips.com and listen about outer space on Collision Course, because that's what we feature here on Collision Course every Sunday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll tell you what's going on in our solar neighborhood and all that good stuff about the universe, and we can decide what's real and what is not in the space outside our atmosphere. Welcome back to the second hour of Collision Course this evening. We have with us Mbonteh Roland from Cameroon, still on the phone. He and his rooster are there. Hi, Roland.
Hello, Mr. Francis and everyone in Collision Course.
Well, good morning, because the rooster is up. Right?
Hello, Mr. Francis.
Hello, can you hear me? Are you there, Roland?
Yes, I'm here. I can get you now well.
I could hear your rooster go cockle-doodle-doo. Cockle-doodle-doo. Okay, everybody, because y'all probably heard the rooster too, so we'll just keep going. Amazingly enough, we were talking about Comet ATLAS. It's a comet in the night sky right now that for the next month or two or a little bit longer, if it makes it around the sun, is going to become a brilliant naked eye comet in the sky. That's going to be my forecast for right now. The information that I have that as we move along through April and into May, this comet that is in up and around Polaris in the northern sky. So wherever you are, if you can find the star Polaris, you're in the neighborhood of where the comet is. If you know where Polaris is and you can imagine yourself looking at Polaris, so you're pointed north and you found the North Star, you can imagine the comet moving counterclockwise. So if we thought that Polaris was the center of a clock, the comet would be the numbers, located at the numbers, and it's going to move around Polaris slightly like a clock, counterclockwise. And as it does that, and as the time goes by and it gets closer to the sun and then it gets closer to Earth, it's going to become more visible in the sky. Word has it, it could be a top 5 sky object, top 5 comet ever. I found in the past, amazingly enough, and I always am amazed, Forbes magazine or Forbes website or Forbes articles are very informed when it comes to outer space. And I'm sure on a lot of other topics. But it amazes me really how well written space articles are when they come from Forbes. And Comet ATLAS. Is this the naked eye comet we've been waiting for? Comet ATLAS is getting brighter. Written by Jamie Carter from Forbes. I get share this. Can I share this in? Jamie Carter. Thank you, Jamie. Have you ever seen a bright comet with your naked eyes? I'll tell you all right now, I have not. I have not. When they've been here, I have not been looking. When I have been looking, they never got bright. Yes, Jim. I shared that link, the Sky Live one, with the info to Comet C 2019 Y4. So here I am been interested in working in space a long time now. Coming to the show and trying to deliver to you some outer space news. And what I'm bringing you tonight is information about this comet, potential. Whenever I've been looking at comets, they never reach their potential. Lenin, Ison, this, that, and the other one that I've looked at. Been waiting for that one. And I think this one's going to be the one. And I don't know. The universe, I tell Roland a lot, the universe works, and we all know the saying, the universe works in mysterious ways. And it's very hard for a human, man, woman, child, to understand or forecast what meanings are from things, what occurrences are important, what occurrences aren't, what did they think in the past, what will they think in the future. Have you ever seen a bright comet with your naked eyes? There's the top question. Have you? I don't know if you have. If you have, and I know some of you have, yes, that's a great sight. Comet Hale-Bopp way back in 1997. But it's possible the Northern Hemisphere is about to get a view of an all-new celestial guest as Comet ATLAS brightens. What is Comet ATLAS? Officially called C2019Y4 Atlas. It is a near-parabolic comet that was discovered by the Atlas Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System survey on December 28th, 2019. That's our anniversary. Which made it the last comet discovery of that year. Is possibly a fragment of Comet Wilmot, also known as C1844Y1 and the Great Comet of 1843. What's a near-parabolic comet? Comet ATLAS is a near-parabolic comet, which means it has an eccentric elliptical orbit of the Sun, so visits the inner solar system less than once every 1,000 years. In fact, this comet only visits us once every 5,519 years. So there's two places I found 2 different years. Yes, Big Dipper location. Jim's letting me know. For anyone who's looking, look for the Big Dipper, and you'll be in the neighborhood. I found 2 locations. So this is 5,519 years. Then I know another place that says it's 6,025 year orbit. When could it become bright? For now, it's still out beyond the orbit of Mars and visible close to the constellation of Ursa Major, the Big Dipper. Only through telescopes right now because it's at Mag 14, but it's getting much brighter. Comet ATLAS is due to reach perihelion, get closest to the Sun, during May 31st, 2020. At that point, it will be just 0.25 AU from the Sun. It's a quarter of 93 million miles, so that's about 25 million miles away from the Sun. It will be quite close. That's a quarter of the distance of the Sun. That is a quarter of the distance between Earth and the Sun. I believe it's inside Mercury's orbit. Here's a chart from the British Astronomical Association to help you track its progress through the night sky. How bright could it get? During May, when it could reach its brightest, estimates for Comet ATLAS's brightness in May range from magnitudes +1 to -5. That's brighter than Venus. However, there's no guarantee. It's a small comet and it could disintegrate. Keep an eye on these Twitter feeds to find out. So that's all in this Forbes magazine. Twitter feeds and pictures. What is the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System? That's a good question. ATLAS is a NASA-funded asteroid impact early warning system developed by the University of Hawaii. It's effectively 2 50 cm telescopes 100 miles apart, situated at the Haleakala Atlas HKO and Mauna Loa Atlas MLO observatories. Here, Terry Lovejoy in the Twitter posts a picture of Comet ATLAS. Those telescopes scan the night sky several times each night and report any moving objects to the Minor Planet Center. See, 2019 Y4 ATLAS was discovered on December 28, 2019. The Great Comet of 1843 is seen from Australia, and there's some images of some historical comets. Comet Hale-Bopp was perhaps the most widely observed in the 20th century when it was visible. Comet ATLAS is mostly of interest only to astronomers, though ATLAS is designed to give a day's warning of the incoming 30-kiloton town killer, a week for a 5-megaton city killer, and 3 weeks for a 100-megaton county killer, as well as beautiful comets. Let's go back to the top of that. I'm going to make sure I read that. Those telescopes scan the night sky several times each night and report any moving objects to the Minor Planet Center. Y-ATLAS was discovered on December 28, 2019. It's mostly of interest only to astronomers, though ATLAS is designed to give a day's warning of the incoming 30-kiloton town killer, a week for a 5-megaton city killer, and 3 weeks for a 100-megaton county killer. Oh, so this is, depending on its size, ATLAS should give us a warning that equates to that long. A 30-ton town killer, a week, a 5-megaton city killer, 3 weeks for a 100-megaton county killer. I don't know, that might say country killer, as well as beautiful comets. Wishing you clear skies and wide eyes. So, we have it. There we have it. We have the potential, and it could be a great thing. And again, like I'll bring up, imagine all of us in the situation in which many of us are probably in right now, which are a somewhat remain in place scenario where your movement is very, very limited for the potential of saving yourself from getting sick of the COVID-19 virus. And so, that doesn't stop us, though, from going into our backyard or our front yard and looking up into the night sky and seeing something amazing. And if something amazing comes about, it's going to be very important, I think. Okay, one quick note on another comet. Is interstellar comet Borisov breaking apart? Now, this is the second interstellar object to have entered into our solar system, Comet Borisov. Of course, we had Oumuamua, interesting object, and then we had this Comet Borisov, which it garnished a lot of information, attention at first, and then it just kind of all dwindled away. Well, currently there's a little new information coming out about Comet Borisov. It's tough being in a new environment, even for comets. According to recent observations, interstellar comet Borisov may be having outbursts triggered by flying through our solar system and past our sun. The comet, now dubbed Borisov, first caught skywatchers' attention in late August 2019. Repeated observations of the object traced its trajectory, and astronomers determined that its strange path meant that the comet could only have come from beyond our solar system and was just passing through our neighborhood. This month, astronomers checking in on the object found that something weird was happening. A team based in Poland reported that twice in March so far, Comet Borisov had brightened up. This behavior is strongly indicative of an ongoing nucleus fragmentation, they wrote in a note describing the new observations. Such a phenomenon would be caused by Borisov's approach toward the sun. That's been a possibility that scientists have considered since its close flyby of the sun in December. Like all comets, Borisov is a hunk of icy debris, so passing by the sun causes interactions of that ice. Borisov was an exciting discovery because, unlike Oumuamua, the first interstellar object that scientists spotted, astronomers identified the object with plenty of time, more than a year, to watch and study its journey through our solar system. It's precisely observations like these, new ones, that scientists hope that long period of visibility would permit. So the fact that they've been able to observe it for so long offers these new opportunities to watch this brightening of it, and then the interpretation of the brightening, of the outgassing, of the outburst, and is it breaking up? And we'll follow that story. I'll probably have more information and links on Collision Course 321 on Facebook. so we can find out exactly where Borisov is, how far out it is. I don't have that complete story because we were looking at Comet ATLAS. And so deep impacts from the Deep Impact EMD EDU Sciences, Comets, Cultures page. Let me get over here. Cultures, Deep Impact, Cultures, Science, Comets, and Ancient Cultures, because this is what I'm talking about. We have this scenario, we have this environment that we are working with. That's the only thing we can say is we have this situation, this environment where we're working with. That's a hard situation to deal with, and so outer space would help you be able to look and then separate yourself from, and everything's great and everything's fine. And it's all going to depend on the individual person, but we have to look at it historically. Since we talk about outer space so much, we have to connect. We have to look at Comet ATLAS and its forecasted arrival and its forecasted presentation, how it's going to look. What does that look like? Comets and ancient cultures may reflect how our current culture looks at it, or more than likely, our current culture is not going to look at it in any sort of way. A comet during a time like this might have been looked at in the past. And let's just move on. Comets and Ancient Cultures by Noah Goldman, University of Maryland, College Park Scholars. Comets have inspired dread, fear, and awe in many different cultures and societies around the world and throughout time. They have been branded with such titles as the Harbinger of Doom and the Menace of the Universe. They have been regarded both as omens of disaster and messengers of the gods. Why is that comets are some of the most feared and venerated objects in the night sky? Why did so many cultures cringe at the sight of a comet? When people living in ancient cultures looked up, comets were the most remarkable objects in the night sky. Comets were unlike any other object in the night sky. Whereas most celestial bodies travel across the skies at regular, predictable intervals, so regular that constellations could be mapped and predicted, comets' movements have always seemed very erratic and unpredictable. This led people in many cultures to believe that the gods dictated their motions and were sending them as a message. What were the gods trying to say? Some cultures read the message by the images that they saw upon looking at the comet. For example, to some cultures, the tail of the comet gave it the appearance of the head of a woman with long flowing hair behind her. This sorrowful symbol of mourning was understood to mean the gods that had sent the comet to Earth were displeased. Others thought that the elongated comet looked like a fiery sword blazing across the night sky, a traditional sign of war and death. Such a message from the gods could only mean that their wrath would soon be unleashed onto the people of the land. Such ideas struck fear into those who saw comets dart across the sky. The likeness of the comet, though, was not the only thing that inspired fear. Ancient cultural legends also played a hand in inspiring a terrible dread of these celestial nomads. The Roman prophecies, the Sibylline oracles, spoke of a great conflagration from the sky falling to earth, while the most ancient known mythology, the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh, described fire, brimstone, and flood with the arrival of a comet. Rabbi Moses ben Nachman, a Jew living in Spain, wrote of God taking 2 stars from the Kema and throwing them at the earth in order to begin the great flood. Yakut legend in ancient Mongolia called comets the daughters of the devil and warned of destruction, storm, and frost whenever she approaches the earth. Stories associating comets with such terrible imagery are at the base of so many cultures on Earth, and fuel a dread that followed comet sightings throughout history. Comets' influence on cultures is not limited simply to tales of myth and legend, though. Comets throughout history have been blamed for some of history's darkest times. In Switzerland, Halley's Comet was blamed for earthquakes, illnesses, red rain, and even the births of two-headed animals. The Romans recorded that a fiery comet marked the assassination of Julius Caesar, and another was blamed for the extreme bloodshed during the battle between Pompey and Caesar. In England, Halley's Comet was blamed for bringing the Black Death. The Incas in South America even record a comet having foreshadowed Francisco Pizarro's arrival just days before he brutally conquered them. Comets and disaster became so intertwined that Pope Calixtus III even excommunicated Halley's Comet as an instrument of the devil, and a meteorite from a comet became enshrined as one of the most venerated objects in all of Islam. Were it not for a Chinese affinity for meticulous record-keeping, a true understanding of comets may never have been reached. Unlike their Western counterparts, Chinese astronomers kept extensive records on the appearances, paths, and disappearances of hundreds of comets. Extensive comet atlases have been found dating back to the Han Dynasty, which describe comets as long-tailed pheasant stars, or broom stars, and associate the different cometary forms with different disasters. Although the Chinese also regarded comets as vile stars, their extensive records allowed later astronomers to determine the true nature of comets. Although most human beings no longer cringe at the sight of a comet, they still inspire fear everywhere around the globe, from Hollywood to doomsday cults. The United States even set up the Near-Earth Asteroid Tracking Program specifically to guard us from these diving dangers. However, although they were once regarded as omens of disaster and messengers of the gods, today a scientific approach has helped allay some concerns. It is science and reason that has led the fight against this fear since the days of the ancients. It is science and reason that has emboldened the human spirit enough to venture out and journey to a comet. It is science and reason that will unlock the secrets that they hold. And then below that article, there are a number of links. I found that to be interesting because I found it to be true that historically comets were looked at as not so good omens. Roland.
Yes, Mr. Francis?
Do you have any information about comets, or are you learning for the first time too as well of what's going on? And have you thought about comets, or how about in your community? Does anybody talk about the night sky, or are you the one?
So actually, no, nobody talks about the night sky here, and I'm really learning about comets for the first time from you, and it's really, really interesting.
Very good. So then I'm informing you as well that over the next couple of months, we have this comet going to become brighter and brighter, and you'll be able to bring, eventually, over the next month or so, you'll be able to use your telescopes to find and look and see it. And so it's very good that you have your telescopes, and then it's probably going to get so bright we won't even need the telescopes. And then we'll just have to be left to wonder. And I'll give you, I'll give you my point of view. My point of view is my point of view. Still consider myself an observer, and I'm an observer of time and space and time. Been watching the events of outer space over a decade. Been paying attention when things get really busy and when they don't. It is because of our current environment that I'm bringing this up. I probably, in no way, without this current environment, would I bring this up. I might talk about it shortly. I would say, hey, Atlas is here, everybody. I can't wait for it to get brighter. And then we would just have we'd set up great star parties, and we'd have all this fun, bring people together, look at the comet. But we may not be able to share this comet as a community together. This comet may pass us at a time where we are still maintaining a social distance from each other. This type of environment with this social distancing and the current events that are going on and the distress of everyone, it's going to be hard to not want to make some discussion, at least, about the connection and arrival of this very long period comet all of a sudden. And basically it was discovered, I'm finding out about it recently, yes. But basically it's only been discovered now for three months, so 90 days. So yeah, if I'm behind the news, 90 days. Sometimes when the information gets hot, like this, when they say something's going to happen, then the news ratchets up. So I've been having a lot of discussion about these objects moving through our solar neighborhood. The end of 2019, we have lots of interstellar travelers. We had the Taurid meteor swarm potential, which never really panned out. But then we just continued to show these new discoveries of near-Earth objects continue to grow. The rate of discovering asteroids in our neighborhood is growing. And then at this particular time, we have this long period comet show up. I think this. I'm gonna not. Who can tell for sure? I don't want to, try to put any goodness on this comet and say, come on. I do as an observer, but the brighter and the bigger that gets, and in any situation that we have to deal with, any worse that it gets, it's just really going to be one of those comets. Because it's going to come at a bad time. And it's going to be one of those views, and people are going to say, is there any real meaning behind it? Because ancient astronomers, Chinese, the Greek, I'm sure the church has their astronomers. I've interviewed the churches, the Pope's astronomer, Dr. Guy Consolmango. And here we go. Every week, of course, we're going to do an update on Comet ATLAS as well. When the skies get clearer, because that's another thing. Roland, your skies have been no good. My skies here have been no good either. It's been very cloudy. But as these months go by now and the skies do get better for us, I will be bringing my telescope out. And we will be taking pictures of Comet ATLAS, and we will be staying on top of that and bringing those pictures back to you. We'll be taking some images from Cosmic Obsession Kerrville. Bobster in the observatory will surely want to take some images of Comet ATLAS as it brightens. He will, obviously, with the other astronomers that we work with, Joe from the NightSkiesNetwork.com. Remember the NightSkiesNetwork.com, everybody? If you go over to the NightSkiesNetwork.com, you can see amateur astronomers' live telescope feeds. I recommend it highly. And our good friend Joe and Bob, they'll all want to get pictures of Comet ATLAS, and so we'll be able to share our own pictures and others' pictures, and we're going to share them on Facebook, and we'll share them here in the chat room and wherever we are. And let me see. I want to make sure that I'm in the chat room. Hey, me. I hope you're doing good. Now, let me... I'm trying to read what's in the chat room. Give me a second. Let me digest what's in the chat room for a second. Hey, me. I was talking, so I didn't get a chance. So, you like the sound of my voice. Thank you very much. I know we've been paying attention. We've all been paying attention to comment after 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 Why You Lying, Richard C. Hoagland, comet, tetrads, tetrahedrons, and all this stuff. Now we got Comet ATLAS. And I really, 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 really think that this is going to be the one, because it's just perfect timing. It's like a script has been written, and we are all here reading a script as it's handed to us daily, and in this case, the universe is sending this to us, which is really a weird message to send us at this time. And each of us, I feel, are, if it does get brilliant, I mean, where everybody without a telescope can go outside and see this thing, we will all be under one sky at that moment. And we will think to ourselves what it all means. And this comet, if it does, will be securely sealed and synced and connected to what is going on around us right now. Because of the situation of how it's all going to play out. It would be very easy on your regular day, on a regular average day, to move and never even think once about what's going on in the night sky. Because that's what happens. That's why I've missed every bright comet that's ever occurred in my whole life. I've looked at comets. We all know I've looked at comets, but I've never seen the good ones. And so going under the perfect conditions, which we had so many weeks ago. Under normal conditions, when folks were busy doing their normal thing, they hardly had time to look up into the night sky. But now, under the condition our condition is in, people will have the time, and they'll find out, and they'll go into their backyards, and they'll all be looking up, and we'll all be looking up, and we'll all be looking up at the same thing, and we'll all be looking up at the same sky. And we all will be one humanity on one planet. And it'll be under those circumstances that this memory, this comet, could be potentially locked in our consciousness for forever, historically, and so on. Because if it does what is said to do, if it makes it past the sun, like I think it will, then we'll have one of those events, as we have this event, that is just, it's mind-boggling to me, the coincidences, when you think about orbital periods of thousands and thousands of years, and the timing of it all. And the way I find myself, I like to think of myself sometimes as an ancient astronomer. I like to think of myself as an ancient astronomer with the job, whose job it was to go on top of the pyramid somewhere. I like to think South America, the step pyramids, and my job would be to sit at the top of the pyramid and just pay attention to the night sky every night of my adult life. And I'd make an observation, and I'd write it down, and I'd make a list of my observation list of what I want to look at, and I'd check off the objects that I had seen, and then I'd be able to hand that information to whoever was most interested in what was going on in the night sky. As a historical ancient astronomer, though, we know that our society is living much different than it would in the future. If I were to bring home an observation of a comet in the night sky, my leaders might think that it was an omen of bad things to come. I don't think of it as bad things to come, Because honestly, we're already in some bad things, and it's arriving. So maybe the whole scenario with historically, when the comet arrives, something bad happens. Rather than thinking the comet comes and something bad happens, it's more something bad is happening and the comet arrives, because that's more in line of what's happening right now. Anyways, I hope we all get a chance to look at it. Doesn't mean that I really am happy about having the comet out in the sky, because I would much rather not have it show up right now, because, I have been with y'all. I believe that we are similar-minded. I have a similar mind with many, if not all, of the listeners of my show, and then the listeners of other shows and the other hosts, etc., etc. We all have a certain basic similar mindset, which keeps us and our eyes and our minds and our ears paying attention to any bit of information that may actually break us out of the envelope of bad information. This show here, Collision Course, hopes to bring you honest, real information from outer space, and our goal is always to do that. Now, tonight, I have made sure to let you know that I think Comet Atlas is going to be a top 5. It is, in my way, somewhat prayerful and supporting the comet on its pathway toward the sun, toward perihelion, toward its close approach to Earth. It'll be quite interesting to, it'll be wonderful. It'll be interesting. It'll be something to see. It'll be something to watch. The astronomers will have something to share with the people. And I believe many, many people will go out into their backyards if given the opportunity and wonder if there's a connection. Is the universe connected to us? Is there a story to tell? Is the universe telling us a story? Is our story a part of the universe's time, on a time scale that the universe is keeping? All these ideas can be had. All these discussions can be had. We can break off in so many different ways. I want to add, though, as we get toward the end of the show, when I talk about this next segment, I'm not saying that our current affliction came from outer space, but I cannot deny that when I think about our current affliction and the possibility or potential. So, even if this was a land-based problem, the potential for a future issue from panspermia, the transfer of microbial biology from a space outside our atmosphere to a place inside our atmosphere. With all these objects, like we had today, 4 objects close flyby. One was a mere 80,000 miles from the center of the Earth. The others are 700,000, 300,000, etc. These are objects that can get into a place where they interact with their atmosphere, and the atmosphere can drag on them and literally strip them from their current surface state to a new surface state. And then wherever that material ends up, it can go disperse amongst the stratosphere and then settle down. It is for sure in my mind that part of what eventually became who we are, what we are, how we are, where we are, what we are, the environment, everything, it came from outer space, yes. I mean, if you go back to before the planet was a planet and accretion and all these other, theories of how we got to there and accretion and asteroids coming in and creating Earth, this material, us, the planetary, the microbials had to come from somewhere. And so as we have these clusters of objects flying one inside a lunar distance, they get into this area of drag. And we have to pay attention to it because, it's really the potential that, because I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody's sure where this, we have reports of where the central area was located. Yes. And then, I look back at, on November 11th of 2019, there was a large fireball over northeast China that came in. We have these 4 flybys close to Earth today. One coming so close, like I said, it could actually have drag from our atmosphere, could disrupt its surface. It might allow microbial, viroids, etc., biological material to come in. We had a discussion with Dr. Chandra Wickramasanger, and let's see, what do I have? I have from the book Cosmic Impact, Understanding the Threat to Earth from Asteroids and Comets. I have a segment here, I think it was 83 and 84. No sooner had scientists accepted the reality of meteorites, and then some of them began to wonder if they had been the source of life on Earth. The idea was given a fancy-sounding name, panspermia. Here's what Lord Kelvin said on the subject in an address to the British Association in Edinburgh in 1871. We must regard it as a probable in the highest degree that there are countless seed-bearing meteoric stones moving about through space. If at the present instant no life existed upon this earth, one such stone falling upon it might, but by what we blindly call natural causes, lead to its becoming covered with vegetation. A few years earlier, in 1864, a carbonaceous chondrite fell near the town of Orgueil in the south of France. Panspermia was a hot topic at the time, and the new meteorite stirred up great interest. With samples being sent to various research institutions, the material was found to be rich in organic compounds, but there was no evidence whatsoever of actual life forms, or was there? Fast forward a century, and a team of American scientists rediscovered a fragment of the Orgueil meteorite that had been sealed up in a glass jar long ago and never previously examined. Astonishingly, it was found to have plant seeds embedded in it. If they had been near the surface, the seeds might have been terrestrial contamination, but they were deep inside and seemingly protected from the outside world by a glassy fusion layer created by the heat of the meteorite's passage to the atmosphere. Whatever they were, the seeds weren't the result of accidental contamination. Sadly, here's a note, sadly, the seeds weren't extraterrestrial either. The researchers identified them as belonging to a species of grass indigenous to southern France, and that was just too much of a coincidence. As for the glassy fusion layer, the part of it that covered the seed was, on closer inspection, found to be dried glue. The whole thing was a hoax, presumably perpetuated by 19th century researchers against one of their colleagues. The only thing was, the intended victim hadn't bothered to look at this particular fragment. The idea of panspermia was given a new twist in 1977 when an article appeared in New Scientist with the eye-catching title, Does Epidemic Disease Come from Space? Its authors, the astrophysicists Fred Hoyle and Chandra Wickramasanger, argued that the observed patterns of certain diseases are more consistent with an origin in space than with conventional person-to-person contagion. They ascribed the source of these diseases to cometary dust, which they envisaged to contain fully developed viruses. Dormant in the freezing cold of space, these become active after they enter the Earth's atmosphere. Not surprisingly, the theory was met with scorn from both the astronomical and epidemiological communities, but Hoyle and Wickramasinghe were undeterred and went on to produce a number of popular books on the subject. Bizarre as it was, the association of terrestrial diseases with comets wasn't completely new. The author of Robinson Crusoe, Daniel Defoe, also wrote a book called A Journal of the Plague Year, a semi-factual, semi-fictional account of the Great Plague that ravaged London in 1665, when Defoe himself was only 5. At one point, he notes that a blazing star or comet appeared for several months before the plague. He goes on to speculate on a cause and effect relationship, albeit of a purely supernatural kind, since this was long before people understood that diseases were caused by microorganisms. The idea there really might be microorganisms in space was given a short-lived boost by the discovery of tiny fossil-like structures in a meteorite called ALH 4001. It was found in the Allen Hills in Antarctica in 1984, but it was only in 1996 that it shot to worldwide fame, with a high-profile announcement by NASA to the effect that a scanning electron microscope had revealed structures resembling terrestrial nanobacteria. The ones in the meteorite were much smaller, however, and there were alternative, non-biological explanations for them, so few scientists were convinced. Another remarkable and much less controversial fact about ALH 84001 is that it originally came from Mars. It was hurled into space by an impact on that planet, which gave this particular chunk of Martian rock enough speed to go into orbit around the Sun. That orbit happened to intersect the Earth's, and at some stage the inevitable collision occurred, and the rock came down in Antarctica as a meteorite. That's not to say the whole sequence all happened in a short space of time. The original impact on Mars would have been millions of years ago, after which the rock had a long career as an Apollo asteroid before it finally crashed on Earth. And even that was more than 10,000 years ago. ALH 84001 isn't a particular rarity either. Meteorites that started life on Mars or the Moon are much more common than people used to think. To quote Neil deGrasse Tyson on the subject, "We conclude that about 1,000 tons of Martian rocks rain down on Earth each year. Perhaps the same amount reaches Earth from the Moon. In retrospect, we didn't have to go to the Moon to retrieve moon rocks. Plenty come to us, although they were not for our choosing, and we didn't yet know it during the Apollo program." The alien octopus. Hoyle and Wickramasinghe's theory about viruses coming from outer space opened the floodgates to a whole new field of speculation. What about more complex organisms? Octopuses, for example? In the Victorian sci-fi classic, War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells had one character describe the Martian invaders as octopuses. It was a good choice, because octopuses really do look alien to human eyes. They're unusual in other ways, too, with higher intelligence and more complex behavior than any other invertebrate. When the octopus genome was sequenced in 2015, it was found to possess more protein-coding genes than our own species. Somewhat overexcitedly, the official press release described the result as the first sequenced genome from an alien. It was meant figuratively, of course, but some people took the idea to heart. In 2018, an academic paper by a number of authors, including Chandra Wickramasinghe, picked up on the fact that so much of the highly complex genome was new, in the sense that it wasn't found in any of the octopus's supposed ancestral species. The authors suggested the situation was easier to explain in terms of an extraterrestrial origin via DNA brought to Earth by cometary impacts than through the natural process of evolution. Given that the complex set of new genes in the octopus may have not come solely from horizontal gene transfer or simple random mutations of existing genes, or by simple duplicative expansions, it is then logical to surmise, given our current knowledge of the biology of comets and their debris, the new genes and their viral drivers most likely came from space. As intriguing as the suggestion is, very few members of the scientific community, other than the paper's own authors, would go along with it. And it continues to today. This information I'm reading to you is theorized by certain scientists and then dismissed by many. An even bigger picture. The moon and the Mars are just the start of it. To understand impacts fully, we need to look much further beyond the solar system. In fact, this is where we really hit the space is big problem. To help visualize the scale of things, a diagram might help at this point, so let's give it a try. Everyone knows that the Earth is insignificant on a cosmic scale, so we won't even try to include it in our picture. The smallest thing we'll show is the distance from the Earth to the Sun, 1 astronomical unit. We'll represent it by a dot, 1 millimeter in diameter. On this scale, the aphelion of the Pluto's orbit and the Kuiper belt. And this is going to go on a little bit farther than I want. Where the short period comets come from is about 50 millimeter waves. And this is going to get into where the comets come from, these 5,000-year comets. This section here was about panspermia. But again, when we get into the content and the meteorite that I'm talking about, we have certain scientists who really think positively about panspermia and how they can get proof from these objects. And then other scientists just want to disregard it. I'm an amateur. I have my own objective view on things. I think panspermia is a great explanation for how part of our evolution occurs. It's not just a generalized natural selection of things where the strong survive and the weak go. What happens through our lifetime is we interact with things that are microbial, biological. They get inside our system and they change us through our genetic makeup. And from that day forward, we are changed. We are evolved. And this is an evolving moment that humanity is going through in a bad way. Well, in a good, how do I say it? What we're going through is bad. Will where we end up be a good place? I do not know. But we are evolving from this bad place to another place that I don't know how to describe right now. We are evolving because something that we are potentially interacting with. Some of you have, some of you may not. I wish you all the best. We're coming to the end of the show. Roland.
Hello, Mr. Francis.
Roland, we're at the end of the show. You can tell everyone good evening. I love you very much. You there?
And everyone in the collision course. Yes.
Go ahead and say goodnight again.
Hello, Mr. Francis. I can get you all.
Yes, go ahead and tell everyone good night, Roland. It was very good to have you on tonight.
Okay, it was very, very good for me to be on show. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope to be there again next time. Okay, good night to everybody on Collision Course. I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful night.
Good evening, Roland. And you can just stay right there, and I'm going to finish. So, good evening, everyone. This is Francis from Collision Course. I'm on freedomslips.com at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Come to freedomslips.com, the world's #1 listener-supported radio station. Come help support this champion of free speech. Come help support the place that gives me my voice so I can bring you news from outside our atmosphere. Tonight we talked about a lot of things. We've had Roland all the way from Cameroon with us the whole show. A wonderful connection. We talked about what's going on with the Astronomy Club of Cameroon. We talked about Comet ATLAS. We talked a little bit about panspermia. We talked about what's going to be happening in the skies above our head over the next couple of months. But you're going to join me next week between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Revolution Radio at freedomsips.com to hear another episode of Collision Course, the show all about outer space and the space outside our atmosphere, with your host, Francis Walsh, amateur astronomer from Cosmic Obsession Kerrville. We hope to be bringing you new shows. Hey, me. Hi, Fishnetter, Lioness. I hope everybody's doing good. Canadian, thank you so much for your links. Pat Rabbit, thank you for paying attention. Lady Horse, how are you? Regular Girl, good night, good night. I know we're getting to the end. Wild Bob, me, Jerk Cub. I hope everybody's doing good. And I'll see you all next week, everyone. Good night, good night, good night. Good night, Roland.
Good night, Mr. Francis.